everyone. We are on. We have got the 2 summer law clerks with us. They're coming to their final end. Let's introduce these stars here. First, Zoe, this is not your first stint with our office, right?
It's not. I'm a rehire, so I worked here last summer too.
I like that. You call it a rehire. Then we have Taylor. Taylor, your first time with us?
It's good to be here.
Good. So let's just talk a little bit about your backgrounds. So Zoe, Loyola Law School. Where did you grow up?
I actually was born in Austin, Texas, so I lived there for a little bit when I was a kid. And then I grew up in Koreatown, so like central LA.
Okay. And you went, I know that you're going to Loyola Law School, but where did you go to high school?
High school, I went to Hamilton High.
Where's that?
In like Inglewood area
Okay.
almost. And then for college, I went to UCSD for undergrad. UCSD,
San Diego.
Yes.
That means that you did exceptionally well in high school. 'Cause that's a hard school to get into. Wow.
San Diego was great, yeah.
You were there for all 4 years?
Yeah, all 4 years.
Oh, my gosh.
It was a beautiful place.
Now, I'm going to tell you that my daughter was accepted into that school. One of my daughters was. We went down to visit, and they said that UCSD stands for something. You don't see social something.
Oh, yeah, it was like UC Socially Dead.
Yeah, there we
I
go.
think that's what it was.
Socially dead, because they got all the brainiacs running around there trying to do better than each other, I guess.
Yeah, it's like no Greek life. It's absolutely just studying and very just nature, one with nature. It was a very chill school.
Is it in La Jolla? Is that where the campus is?
It's in La Jolla.
So did you spend a lot of time on the beach while you were in college?
I did. It was a beautiful place. I feel like it's a great place to retire, but there's nothing to do in like your early 20s.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, the socially dead part of it, but
it is
I think if you're a scientist, though, it's a great place, right?
It is.
It's all the research areas and stuff.
Yeah.
What was your undergrad degree in?
I was a clinical psychology major.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like kind of sciencey, but not really.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what led you to want to be a lawyer then from there?
I mean, I always wanted to do like therapy and work with children, but then I realized that I'm not very sciencey, so I was trying out.
You're not what?
I'm not like a super into math and sciences. Like I'm not too great at that. So I tried something more that's like English. So I picked up a minor in law, and then I thought I really liked it, so I tried law school, and then here I am.
Now that's interesting. I never heard of getting a minor in law. There's such a thing.
Yeah, they now have minors in law.
And what courses would you study to get a minor in law?
They had like evidence classes where you learn about like fingerprints, kind of. Not really about like the rules of evidence, but just like what classifies as evidence, I guess. We had to take a couple of like sociology classes, stuff like that.
That's fantastic. I would love to see the program for that. Wow. Okay, so now Taylor is an outsider. Okay, she's not even a Californian. I think in the history of our law firm, I think you might be the second outsider. We had a gentleman from Chicago that went to, I told you about this, went to Loyola, named Tony. Tony, if you're listening, I love you, brother. He was with us for a couple of years. Then he went back to Chicago. But you're from Arizona, and you went to Arizona State, right?
The easiest school to get into for undergrad. I made up for it in law school, though. But.
Big time, yeah. Yeah, not very big time. I mean, you now attend USC, and you're going into your second year at SC, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what was your undergraduate degree in?
Economics.
Well, that's a good one. That's a good one for going into law, especially things like family law or business law or something like that. Was it something that you changed as you were going through school, or did you hit the freshman year and you're like, I'm going to be in economics?
Yeah.
You were? Why?
And it was through the business school. I had actually done research about like good majors to do for going into law school, and economics is one of the big ones. Economics and I think physics. And I wasn't about to major in physics, so I went down the econ route, but actually really, really loved it. I miss it often, so I had a lot of fun.
That's whew, man, a lot of statistics, a lot of math in there.
A lot of math, yeah.
Okay.
That's why first year law school kind of hit me like a train, because it's not a lot of math and a lot of reading and writing.
Did you hear what you just said? First year law school hit her like a train, which she's not saying. I'm going to say it for her. She's at the top of her class in her law school, so but I want to be on that train, okay? You had a lot of places to apply to, I imagine, coming out of Arizona. Getting into SC is not easy. Getting into Loyola is not easy. I mean, those are pretty tough law schools. What other schools were you looking at?
I was looking at primarily California schools. I am still like a homebody. I still miss home pretty frequently, so I didn't want to go too far. So UCLA, Berkeley, Loyola, trying to think. Stanford was for fun, you know. RIP that one. It was worth a shot. So yeah, primarily California schools, and then I did apply to ASU Law as well, which is,
Wow.
they do have a good law school. Okay.
Of course they
We
do.
didn't say anything.
Okay.
Football team, I don't know. No, actually, they got a pretty good football team too. So I can't speak because I'm a UCLA fan.
Okay.
And sometimes we beat you guys, sometimes not. So, but you guys usually have a better program than us. Okay, so you decided to do an intern this year. Your very first. Have you worked in a law office before, right? Now,
Yes.
Now I'm wondering, how in the world did you find time to work in a law office? Here you are, a young kid going to Arizona State, getting a degree in economics, which has to be really, really hard, and you must have done very well in order to get into SC. Where did you find time to go to working for a law office?
It was a summer internship, so I wasn't doing it while I was in school. But yeah, I worked full time junior year summer, I want to say, because then after senior year, COVID hit and everything. But it was over summer, so I didn't have nearly as much going on at the time.
Okay, about 2 years ago then. And what kind of law firm was it?
It was labor and employment law on the plaintiff side. So we did like individual suits for like professors and things like that, but then also would do, you know, like class actions with, you know, a ton of different teachers and stuff. So.
Wow. Plaintiff side, that's interesting, because you know that most people go to the other side, right? Because my best friend is employment law, but he represents companies and bosses and stuff like that. So, did you find that to be a fun experience?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I really liked my boss was like a really good mentor. I learned a lot from him. I didn't particularly love labor and employment law. I actually found myself a lot of times on the side of the defense. So that was like a bit of a challenge at times. But I mean, I still loved the experience. I loved a lot who I worked with, but I'm excited to kind of be going a different route in the legal field.
Okay, so both of you are in the historical COVID classes, right? So am I right to say that both of you attended a full year of law school remotely?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It sucked.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Now are you doing the classic 3 years, or is it the 4 years? I forget.
3 years.
3 years. Okay. So your first year you go to school.
We were on campus.
You're on campus. Zoe's like having fun. She's getting that law school experience. Going to classes, or what do they have? They have these special debates and presentations at lunch, and you're eating that food, and all of a sudden, now, boom, COVID hits.
And it was all just taken away, and we were stuck at home.
So that was actually, you didn't even do a full year though, right? Or did you?
Yeah. So I think the first semester was full on campus, and then the second semester, I think around March was when it got really bad, and then we had to transition off campus, and then all of our exams that were supposed to be closed book in class all became open book, and grades became pass fail too.
Okay. I tell you, things are moving so quickly or slowly, or one of the two, that I can't keep track of it. So 2020 March is when the lockdown took place, right?
Yes, I think so.
And you came to us the first time in your first year of law school? Is that
right after the second semester of law school.
okay? Okay. So just half of that. You really did half a year then, okay? And then only half a year remote?
Yeah, I think starting from March, it became remote, like a little bit before March.
Okay. So that was 2020. 2021, you've been, wait a minute, I don't get it. I mean, you've been remote, or you? Or
I've been remote for a full year. You've been remote for like a year and like a quarter.
Year, and then all of Sec 2L was remote.
So all 2021 was remote. I don't know why they didn't open it up. I mean, after people started opening it up a little bit. Do you know why?
I think I don't know. We were we're in California. I think like ASU law was open the whole time. So I think
they were.
It sort of just depended. I think like where you were located in the country kind of determined whether we were going to open up or not, or whether law students were.
Okay. So this year you're going back to live, and when does school start?
August I think like around the 20th for me.
August 16th for us.
It seems that when I went to law school, I thought they started a little bit later. I went to Southwestern, but I don't know. All I know is that you guys had a short summer. It seemed like
Very short summer.
Yeah, maybe they're everybody's anxious to get you back or something. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, law school is a different experience than college, right?
Very different.
Tell me what the difference is.
You get way less sleep for different reasons, I think, compared to in college.
Yeah, I think it's more so like what I was learning in undergrad, I think was more complicated and harder, at least the first year. But I think in law school, your workload is just so much heavier. Like reading something isn't necessarily that difficult, but it's going to take you still all night. Whereas at least for undergrad, I'd be working on like one specific like problem or I don't know, like assignment all night, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, there's criticism, or there has been for a long time, that they give you too much to do in law school.
Oh, yeah.
You can't possibly keep up with the reading, and those professors are like, I want you to read every single case. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane the amount of like workload, the amount of just the competition too. I think was very new for me because in undergrad there's no competition, right?
Yeah.
Like in generally there's no competition
Right.
that you could see on the surface, but I think in law school you could just feel it on the
it's
campus.
palpable.
Yeah, and interactions are different because the competition is there, and that was something I did not expect.
Yeah. You're more reluctant to study with others because
Definitely.
in undergrad you'd have a huge study group because if we all do well, then we all do well. Versus like if you figure something out,
In law
you're gonna
school.
share it with your close friends, but maybe not put it in the group chat.
Maybe not in the forum.
Yeah,
definitely.
None of it is also like I feel like practical, like to like real life practice either, which I think is frustrating too.
I mean, like undergrad is pretty abstract too, though.
I guess like in your early years, so I guess
Yeah,
it's not fair to compare. Maybe 3 I'll feel better about it.
Yeah, but I think just law school is just very difficult overall.
Yeah.
Just the amount of stress is very difficult. Yeah.
I found in law school that the big picture came at, things started filling in. You felt like you understood everything because all the courses kind of worked together, and it was like a magical feeling. And that's why I loved college. Went to law school, and I'm like, this stuff is like not gelling, and it didn't happen until two things. One is when I started doing some internships, and the second is when, and it came out at the last year, is when I took the course of remedies. Because remedies was about bringing like torts and contracts and everything all into one thing about what and so then it pieced together for me. You haven't had that experience yet.
No.
Okay.
My bitterness is coming out a little bit.
You'll get it and stuff. But I think that you had part of it though this summer is the internship. So let's talk about that. So I thought we would label today as learning about family law. Okay, and so. Taylor, what did I tell you when I first met you about your experience here? You recall?
My experience here, that you guys are a very ethical family.
No, not that stuff. What did I tell you about what you would find? I'll just say, I've told both of you that you'll know whether or not you like family law by the time that you leave. I mean, you both got some really good experiences this summer.
Definitely. Very different from last summer.
Yeah. So Zoe came to us during the beginning of COVID, and we were all in lockdown, and all I saw her was on a little television screen, and stuff, and with a mask on, and we're talking and stuff, and that was our experience, right?
It was.
So how was it different this year for you?
Okay, like the biggest thing was definitely going to trial with you. That was the epitome of this experience. But besides that, I think the type of work that we do is different compared to last year, because last year was a lot of just judicial council forums, a lot of pleading after pleading. But I think this year was a lot more writing, and it was more fast paced because the deadlines were back. Because last year, a lot of the cases were postponed, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot more fast-paced this year.
Yeah, you were way more involved in the casework this year as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. And what about you? What did you think about the overall experience? I should say this: is you both are. I'm about to cry, but you're you're less than a week away from leaving us, right? So you're going back to school. So, what did you think about your experience?
Oh, I loved it. It I mean, obviously what was just coming through, I really didn't like my first year of law school. So you kind of go through the motions. I'm sure as a lot of people do their first year, have I made the absolute biggest mistake? And should I just have continued with econ and things like that? But being here this summer has really made me excited again for why I originally went to law school. And what I'm there to ultimately do. It's so much more fun, like actually, I don't know, feeling like you're doing important work versus, just studying. So I'm sad that it's coming to a close, but I feel better about going back to school now, knowing like, what my career could potentially look like.
That's good. That's what I hope that you would feel. Zoe said something interesting because we just concluded a trial, and we won't mention names of the cases that you ladies have worked on, but we could talk about some of the experiences and things you learned. But the one that you and I just handled dealt with a very difficult child custody case, and it was a contentious trial. And she said to me afterwards, she said, "Boy, evidence is a lot harder on paper than it is in person." Because she heard the objections and watched how we handled stuff in court, and there is just this, reality is a lot better than it is, in the book work and stuff, right?
Definitely. And I think it was crazy how you actually used those principles that you saw on paper so quickly in trial, and like I feel like you really have to know the material and be like super prepared, which was exactly what I saw, and I thought that was just amazing because it was so quick. It was nothing like you see when we do readings and pay attention to like class. It was something completely different.
Yeah,
completely different.
What's funny is when I went to Southwestern, there was I think it was a mock interview day. I don't know why they did that. They're going to teach us how to interview, for law firms, and this guy came on campus, volunteered his time, and he was very imposing. I walked into this, office, and I sat down, and he said, "So what do you want to be? Do you want to be a transactional or a litigator?" And I'm honest to God, I had no idea that there was a difference between litigators and because I always thought I'm going to be in court. I was a cop, and I was with DAs all the time in the courtroom and stuff, there is a definite difference. So what you're talking about is experiencing what litigation is like, right?
Definitely.
Having the time that you've had with us, have you decided, in your mind, what type of lawyer you want to be?
Before this summer, I thought transactional lawyer was kind of the way to go because I thought being in court would be just incredibly intimidating. But after the summer, I think I definitely do want to try litigation because the adrenaline you feel in the courtroom is insane. I never felt anything like that in my life. And I was wide awake. My blood was pumping, and it almost felt like a little bit addictive. And I couldn't wait for like the second day of trial. So I thought maybe I should try it out.
That's when you told me that. She told me that at the conclusion of the trial. She said, "Man, my adrenaline was so up there that I couldn't sleep."
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's a sign of somebody that needs to be in court. Because I've said this before is that we've had associate attorneys that are really smart, really good attorneys, but just not be able to do this stuff because of the pressure. But it's an adrenaline rush is really what it is.
Yeah, it really
and in that case, I spent the last weekend just killing myself, and it's like, man, I should be like having fun, but instead I'm reading, I'm briefing, putting together my cross-examination, and just it's so hard to concentrate, as much as you have to do it. But once the gun goes off, it is so much fun and stuff, and it's the adrenaline, I think, is what happens.
Definitely.
Right? It's fun. It was really cool to hear that you were like into it that way. Now you were also into a contempt court, right? And I thought that was really cool because I would say this is both of you were actually very helpful in the cases. Unlike you weren't like spectating so that you could learn. I mean, you were involved in the trials and stuff, and you did quite a bit of research, and you sat in there and stuff. So, what was that? Was that something that steered you towards wanting to be a litigator versus a transactional attorney?
I mean, yeah, I would say very, very similar experience to Zoe, where I really didn't picture myself as like a courtroom attorney or someone who'd be interested in doing like moot court or something like that. But yeah, similar adrenaline rush. I think more so when we were doing the sentencing, and the judge wasn't like super familiar with like if we were. I think the issue was like whether to award attorney's fees, and me and Monet are just sitting there like trying to find like some sort of part of like the law to like argue or. I don't know, like find a case law that's going to support us. So like that like rush of like, the adrenaline would be the word. And then you find it and then, you win.
Well, let me stage this the right way. Okay. So Taylor is sitting across my desk and we're doing the remote sentencing hearing, which is bizarre. We're doing something so serious, on the computer like that. But she's sitting across the table along with Monet, and the judge was asked by opposing counsel to believed that we couldn't impose attorney's fees on the sentencing because how the code was read. And I'm panicking because I really didn't know the code. I knew you could do it, but I didn't look at the code specifically, and I didn't see it there. So I'm like ready to do a tap dance, and sure enough, Taylor did some, I don't know, she did her own research very quickly and came up with the case. And I turned and I said, oh, that would be People versus Davenport or whatever it was, you know. And the judge was like, okay, great. What is that? And it was really saved the day because you think about that. That was the significance of that case. You know, I mean, that's how that person would be penalized, right? It was through the attorney's fees for having to go through all of that. And you're talking about a lot of attorney's fees.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you had a very interesting couple of assignments for the cases. I know that one of them dealt with privileges, right? Could you speak on that?
The right to privacy research.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to preclude or at least get most of the evidence out where our client search results were, accessed by the opposing party, and we wanted to find out if we could preclude that, how much of it we could preclude. So that was a lot of research for that.
Yeah. So you did the basic law on that as to the arguments that I can't make, which is mostly what that research memo had. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. But you came up with some pretty creative stuff in there. Now, we didn't have to make the argument because of the fact that we settled the case.
Yes, we did.
Halfway through the trial. And it was really because we were winning. But then we encountered the problem of somebody coming into court and trying to introduce evidence of searches on somebody else's, the opposing party wanted to introduce evidence of our client's search history. And being the generation that you ladies are, you knew that involved hacking.
Yes.
I didn't know that, okay? I just knew it was wrong.
And yeah, the judge too, he didn't think of it as something that needs to be hacked into. But when I tried it on my computer, there was no way you could get access to that information without knowing that other person's password. So
I was pleased to wake up in the morning and there was a memo waiting for me, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I knew you had to have been up till about 3 o'clock putting that together. She created all the questions to ask and everything like that. That's the fun thing about practicing law is there's a little bit of, actually a lot of being a detective. Or an investigator. I mean, you have to look at the evidence and you have to come up with creative things. It's not just about citing the law, right? And I think that's the funnest part for me is getting there and the evidence doesn't say that, or coming in with that stuff. So yeah, and so you've done a lot of work for other attorneys in the office here too. What other assignments did you have?
I did a couple of declarations, which is I enjoy those because I don't necessarily get to do the initial meetings with the clients and whatnot. So you can read the pleadings that we put together, but when they're sending over their declaration, their version of events and what's going on, I really enjoy reading those. So yeah, I feel like I did 4 or 5 declarations. I'm currently working on one right now. Got familiar with a lot of the family law forms, which are nice. Which be funny because sometimes an attorney would be like, "Can you fill out this really basic form?" But at the time, I had no idea what that even meant. So I'd be like, well, "Okay, well, what's the due date on this? Because I've got some other things rocking and rolling right now." And then I'd open it up, and the assignment would take maybe 4 minutes. So then I just felt like an idiot. But anyway. And then I did some stuff with Allie, which was fun. I did a whole adult adoption paperwork for her, which was for adult adoptions, there's not any pre-made forms because it's so rare. So I had to do all of the pleadings by myself. So that was really fun.
That cool? But that's a uncontested adoption that you did.
The client was really sweet too. It was a weird part of family law to be in, where everyone was just really happy and that things were going good, and I was like, "Congrats on your wedding tomorrow." I don't know. That was fun.
Yeah. So when we talk about declarations, you're describing the experience of getting something from the client and then trying to make it make sense to the court, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a love-hate thing. You tell your client, "Look, I want to know what you're thinking, so send me, because I want to have your voice." And their voice, unfortunately, is 30 pages, and you restrict it to 10 pages or whatever it is. And then when you start editing, what happens? "But I wanted to say this and that, and what if you didn't include this?" And it's like, okay, trust me, But really, that's the art of an attorney, though, is what you're doing is you're objectively looking at the argument, and you're standing outside going, "Okay, that's not going to play in Peoria, right?" And stuff. So and then you get to use your persuasiveness, right? So,
Mhm.
so the one that you're working on is more like that. You're working out of starting with this rock this big, and you're going to try to sculpt it down to like this, where the other ones weren't like that, right?
Yeah, not a little bit more to the point. Some of the other ones, they really do just like to throw everything in there.
Yeah.
Which is
Okay.
interesting to read. I'm like, wow, yeah, that guy sounds like the worst. But, we can't include that.
Sometimes, we make the mistake of going, shh, shh, stop talking, and actually you got to listen because the pearls come through. Even though you got to listen to and be patient. I do that a lot of times. You'll see me listening to people, and you're like, why didn't you just cut off that conversation? And like, because I might be missing something, and you do that with those declarations as well. Now, Zoe, you got to write it in complete judgment.
I did.
And that was really
thanks
cool.
to you, because you
Well-
helped me.
Well, but it was
the
cool
entire
though. I
time.
mean,
It
here
was.
she is as a law clerk, and she's in court. We go into the
Jury room.
and you hammer out a complete judgment of dissolution.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Well, what I learned is how quick of a typer you are, and how smart you are. I'm like, oh my God, man, she catches on really fast here. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go take a break. I'll be back in 15.
And I was just sitting there typing away.
But that was a good experience, though. I don't know if you felt it, but I felt like I'd really given the client and even the opposing side
Definitely.
something. They walked away with a
Definitely.
judgment within, a couple of hours after we settled. Got them some resolution, right?
Definitely. And I think, that case especially needed that resolution. I think that was like the whole point of that trial, right? And the fact that we got it early and so quickly in a day. Yeah, and like they were all smiling and stuff when they left.
Yeah.
It's great.
Now, Taylor, on the other hand, the one that you worked on may not ever resolve. So we won't.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised he's not here right now.
Don't take it personal, okay?
That's okay.
Okay. Well, family law. What do you think about family law?
I love it. I'm having like the best time learning about it. I always wanted to try it out. I tried it last year. I really liked it. So I contacted you again. I was like, I want another chance at it, and here I am. And I got so much experience this summer, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think your degree in psychology really plays into that. One of the reasons I think I keep doing this, is no two people are alike. Every story is different, and it's fascinating to see what people do and say in their lives, and you just become more enriched each and every case that you have. I think and you do see patterns. So maybe it gives us a little wisdom as we're talking to people and making decisions for ourselves and stuff, right? Yeah, and you with the econ background, you didn't do too much financial stuff though for us this year, did you?
No, but that's okay.
Okay, but I mean that also applies to a lot of family law too. It's weird. It's a weird profession because normally it's one or the other, right? But family law, you're dealing with kids and people committing domestic violence against each other and stuff, and then you pivot and you're dealing with finances and stuff. And how could you be both? How could you be this social worker, psychology type of person, but at the same time be this CPA type of mind? That's kind of what I thought when I came into the profession. But you don't have to be either one of those. You just have to be willing to learn, and stuff. Yeah. So what did you think about family law?
Oh, I've known I wanted to do family law since like high school. It's, I majored in econ just because it was a good major to get into a good law school, even though I did end up completely loving econ. Just from personal background, personal history, I feel, maybe it's not the best to like get attached to cases, but like when you feel connected to, I don't know, a client in a way, you're all the more passionate about it. And I don't know, as cheesy as it sounds, it's fun to actually be passionate and care about what you're doing. So, not every client is going to be the best, but you're fighting for a good fight.
Even when they don't appreciate you, right?
Yes, yes.
I know you both of you learned that early on, because we had some discussions about that. What's it like to handle a case when you're doing everything you can, and you're providing really good service, and you're giving them the very best of your experience and your training, and I don't like the taste of this, and you just kind of say, okay, well, I've done my best, right? But actually, you're right, though. I mean, when you get a client that really appreciates it, I mean, that's even better, right? Cool. Well, parting shots for today or for your internship.
I mean, I've never been on a podcast before in my life, so.
Okay, well, I'll give you a hint. Maybe you could talk about what other students would think about doing an internship in a family law practice.
Here or at
Or
just
here,
a
that's
family
good.
law
I'll tell you what, do a commercial for us,
For
okay?
here?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the biggest rumor that you hear in law school is that when you do work for a firm, either the culture is not going to be a good fit for you, either the people are going to be a bad fit for you, or the hours are going to be terrible, or that you're just going to end up hating your job, even if it pays, good money or a good salary. And I think, honestly, the 2 years that I've worked here, everybody was very inclusive, very nice. I think the diversity, especially like in race and even in gender, is incredible, which is also kind of rare in a lot of like bigger firms. And I think that they actually trust you with really good work and really good experience, and that's just not what you can get, especially with a good culture, especially with the firm that has a really good and kind of inclusive and very welcoming culture. So I do recommend this firm.
Cool. Nice commercial. I didn't really mean that, but thank you very much. What about you? What would you say to any of your fellow students out there that haven't done an internship at all?
I think firm culture matters a lot. Even to echo again, like specifically to here, is that, I never felt like I was thrown completely in the deep end. Everyone with any assignment, if you have any questions, email me, call me, or everyone was very clear on like what their expectations were. And, if we send them something back, you're all very grateful, or, you have constructive feedback. So it wasn't just, we get something random, we have no idea what we're doing, and then we send it back and we have no idea if it was done well or not. There's a lot of complaints I hear from like other firms. So working somewhere that actually knows how to manage and handle interns has been incredible. I think
Definitely.
I would hope, obviously for us, but I would hope for you guys as well. A lot of firms that I, at least just in the past or from where I've heard from friends and whatnot, do not know what to do with interns but over the summer, whether they're in their first year or second year. So no internships at all. I don't know, because it would be hard to know before you started working there if you were going to enjoy your experience or not.
Yeah.
But overall, even if you had a bad experience, recommend internships. I mean, it's the way you learn whether you like this field or not.
Well, cool. Well, I'm glad that was a positive experience for both of you.
Definitely.
We still get about almost a week with the two of you. So get back to work. At this point, the fun's over with. Okay, I expect 12-hour days for. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.